Welcome to Madame Raven's. This way to the library. She's been expecting you.
A Babe in the Woods by Bunny B03, aka Natalie Brown. The kids in our town play like other kids. We look like other kids. We sound like other kids. However, the children of our town are not like other kids. Other kids, other towns, don't have Numac woods. It was heavily rumored that the Numac woods were haunted. Legends stated that if a child under the age of 14 went out into the woods after 8 p.m., they will very distinctly hear a baby crying. I don't know why it's 8 p.m. Maybe because the sun has long gone by then. I also don't know why the age has to be under 14, but I can take a guess. I'm assuming that it's because kids under that age still have most of their childlike innocence. They say that children are more sensitive to the supernatural than adults, so that's got to have something to do with it. My friend Ricky Doyle lives down the block and over a ways from Numac, and I'm staying at his house tonight. We have been talking about going out there for months, but just now have gotten the courage to set our plans in motion. We're going to sneak out at 8:15 and go check it out. Ricky and I are both 11 years old since his birthday last week, so that checks out too. We shouldn't have any problems hearing the baby. It was all figured out. A perfect plan. We'd eat dinner, pretend to go to bed, sneak out, hear the baby, and be back in bed before anyone knew we were gone. This was our chance to bring some credit to the story. No one we have known had actually gone into the woods. It was always a friend of a friend or a cousin's girlfriend's neighbor who supposedly went and experienced it. Not much went on in this town, and there wasn't much to do. I have always been mischievous, constantly seeking out adventures, and Ricky needs a friend. It works out for both of us. His interest in all things creepy and spooky isn't as enthusiastic as mine is. I think he mainly goes along with it because he's just happy to have someone to hang out with. School drags on forever. And finally, it was time to meet Ricky for the buses. Mom wrote a note saying I could ride his bus home with him today. Ricky's already at the bus loop by the time I get there. Aiden, hey, did you give your note to the front office to ride home with me? I take a piece of paper out of my pocket and wave it around like a flag of victory. I got the bus pass right here, I told him triumphantly. What's your mom making for dinner? I asked him. He told me we were having spaghetti, my favorite. We ate quickly that night and without a word. Not that there was much chance for one. We were eating huge bites super fast, like we'd been starved for a week. Ricky's mother smiled at us. She brought out a piece of cheesecake for each of us after we'd finished. You boys want some dessert? Aiden, does your mom let you have cheesecake? I was about to open my mouth to say no thank you when I caught Ricky's eye across the table. He glanced towards the plates and nodded quickly at me. Thank you, Mrs. Doyle. I've eaten cheesecake with my mom lots of times. It's really good. Before long, we were saying our goodnights, promising to brush our teeth. We stay silent in his room, waiting. I felt like I was going to jump out of my skin. It was getting close to 8 o'clock. There were glasses of water gotten from the kitchen and bathroom trips. We used these excuses for us to see what his parents were doing in the living room We were trying to track their progress towards heading in for the night. Finally, we heard their bedroom door close. Both of us had agreed to wait exactly 15 minutes after this to leave the house. With our jacket hoods pulled low over our heads, we dropped out of Ricky's window and entered the backyard. It was chilly enough outside to where I'm thankful I brought my jacket, but not cold enough to be uncomfortable. Even if it was, the excitement in my blood kept me warm, and that was great. "Aiden, do you have both flashlights?" Ricky asked. "No, man, I thought you had yours. I just have this one." I held it up and waved the beam around his face. He winced and put his hands up. "Come on, it's bad enough I don't have a flashlight. Now you want to blind me completely?" I laughed at this and tell them we can try to share mine. I didn't want to risk sneaking back in and out of the house just for one flashlight. I've just gotten old enough for my mom to let me sleep over at a friend's house that wasn't in our neighborhood. We're just getting started with Numac, and I cannot mess that up. We enter the woods and have been walking for a good 15 minutes now. We see a huge black lump off to the right in the middle of the tree. My breath catches in my throat for a second, and I shine the light towards it. It's an old, broken down, abandoned white car. The windows are broken out of it. We walk to it and look inside, making sure to keep our distance in case someone was living in there. It happens, you know. "How the heck did this car even get here? There are trees everywhere." "Maybe it's been here since they were babies," Ricky said. "They're called like saplings or something like that." "There's no such thing as a baby tree," I scoffed at him. Then I thought about everything else that he had said. You know, that's a good question. It doesn't make sense. "Hey, when it's daytime, we should come back and check it for broken glass. If not, it can be ours. We can be the only 11-year-old kids at school to have a car. We can make a base out of it," I suggested excitedly. We continued to walk on, agreeing to check on the car again tomorrow. It's very difficult. Both of us keep close together to share the beam of light. I feel like a pair of Siamese twins in some kind of weird three-legged race. We are bumbling and tripping over any and everything in our path. It's a blast. We are chuckling and stomping around so hard, I barely hear it. I shh Ricky by putting my hand up, pointing to my ear to signal him to stop and listen. There, under the noise of the wind, through the trees, I can hear something. I try to sharpen my ears and block out all sounds. Yes, that's it. I can't believe it. I don't know whether to feel scared, excited, or worried. "Ricky, do you hear it too? The baby. Can you hear the baby?" Even in the moonlight, I can tell that Ricky's face is a lighter color than normal. His eyes are wide, and he clenches his hands together. "Yeah, maybe we should go now," he mumbles to me. I grab him by the arm a little more aggressively than I meant to. "Well, I'm going further. If you want to go back, fine, but remember, I have the flashlight." "Sorry," I say, smoothing his arm jacket out like that would somehow erase the act. "I just want to get a little closer to make sure we aren't imagining it. Come on, please. We have come this far and can't head back just yet." Against his wishes, he reluctantly follows me through the woods, both scared more than we are able to admit. We seem to be getting closer to the sound for a while, and then it just stops. Ricky looks satisfied. He knows we can start heading home now. He's happy that we got our answer to the stories of New Mac Woods. For me, however, it isn't enough. I need to know where, if any, it was coming from. It sounded very real. Maybe there actually was a baby out there. Maybe they were cold and hungry. Maybe they needed help. My mom had a baby a few months ago. She's super annoying, screams and pukes all the time, but I'd never want anything bad to happen to her. To any baby, pukey or otherwise. I follow Ricky back to his house, and we sneak back in the window and go to sleep. His parents none the wiser. I can't stop thinking about the woods and that baby, but the warmth and fluffiness of Ricky's bottom bunk quilt quickly cuddles me into a deep sleep. The lullaby of our snorting and snoring drifting out of the cracked window into the night. The next morning after going home, I take advantage of my mom's tiredness. I ask her, after a long night awake with my sister, to stay at Ricky's again next Friday. Unless you want us both to stay over here. I wriggled my eyebrow at her. What's one more kid in the house, right? I say. My mom turns to me and gives me an offended smile. Don't pull that crap on me, Aiden Stewart. I would have said yes. You didn't have to try reverse psychology on me. She joked, kissed me on the forehead as she walked past. I'm glad you two are such good friends, she added before leaving the room entirely. The school week is long and uneventful. It seems to drag on and on. You know how things get when you're really looking forward to something. Things become a blur with the end goal in sight. I do all of my school homework and go about the motions, mentally counting down the days, the hours, the minutes, until Friday. The day has come. I come to school more prepared this time than last week. I have extra batteries, 2 flashlights just in case, even some nighttime snacks and Gatorade. It can be just like we're going on a night hike, if that's even a thing, which I'm pretty sure it's not. I brought the game that Ricky wanted to borrow, too. We met up and rode the bus to his house just like last week. His bus time is much shorter than mine is. We go through the evening having what they call Mr. Doyle's famous golden chicken breast this time. The excitement ate away at my stomach over the day, and I didn't eat as fast as I ate the spaghetti. Mrs. Doyle bought some mini cupcakes at the store and gave us 2 each. We played some video games to keep ourselves occupied until his parents went into their room. Before long, we were out in the night air again. It was cold tonight, but in a different way. It was the kind of cold that my mom says settles into your bones. My breath came out in puffs, and my teeth are trying their hardest not to chatter together with chills. I shake it off and pull my jacket tighter around me, my hood over my head again, like some kind of thief in the night. The vastness of the woods can be confusing. It's easy to get turned around in here. We pass by our car, too unsafe from the neglect in the woods to make a base out of. We both have our flashlights this time. I breathe a little easier because I know we are somewhat on the right path. I have no idea where we're going. I'm just walking, waiting to hear the noise. We are way further in than I had been last time. The nighttime sounds of woods seem to dull the deeper in that we get. I hear no crying baby, though. I was starting to get pissed off, honestly. It was way after 8 o'clock. We are both of appropriate age. What gives? Maybe it's not working because you look older than you are, Ricky asked hopefully. He was right, too. I'd been the tallest kid in my class, in my grade since I started school at 4 years old. I shake off his suggestion, walking further in. I am just about to give up and head back when Ricky falls to the ground with a thud. I hear the sound of metal as he hits the ground. "Oomph! What the hell?" he says. I double back to see if he's okay and find out what he tripped on. "Did a root get you again?" I ask him, shaking my head. He doesn't answer me, just begins moving the dirt under him over with his foot. "Come here, Aiden," he yells at me. I get to him, start helping, and see what we've uncovered. "It's a huge sheet of sheet metal." "Maybe a door, one of those underground bomb shelter things," I tell him, wiping my hands in my jeans. "First a car, now this. I don't understand, but it's still pretty neat, huh?" The look on Ricky's face tells me he didn't think so. I take my right foot and stomp on the metal as hard as I can. Maybe I can tell if it's empty by the sound it makes. If it sounds hollow, there's no one in there. If not, that means it has someone in it. I was putting my Wolf Scout skills to good use, even though I'd dropped out years ago. They say the things you learn in Scout stay with you forever. I guess they're not lying. It sounded hollow enough, annoying, and more than a bit disappointed we started to walk away. Then I hear it. Something that sounds like a rock being thrown on concrete. Then the loudest scream I have ever heard in my life. The volume was so intense that it almost didn't even sound like a baby anymore. I froze, not knowing the next steps to take. Ricky takes them for me. He grabs the sleeve of my jacket and yanks me into a run. I don't want to leave, but at the same time that scared me so badly I pissed my pants. We're flying through the woods, only tripping a few times. It was like we ran so fast, our feet just glided over the ground, not touching it long enough to even make any imprints. I take off my jacket and tie it around my waist the second we get to the safety of his yard. Again, we get into the house. I get changed and we slip into bed. Our events of the night, laying silent in the air, like a secret that had become too big for the two of us. The next morning, I waited patiently for my parents to come and pick me up. I'm going to tell them everything and take them to the woods where the hatch is. I don't care if I get in trouble. This makes my stomach too sick to carry the weight on my own. Some baby needed our help. Finally, they pulled up. I raced out of the front door like lightning. I started telling them everything before they even got out of the car. My mom stops mid-steps, her mouth hanging open. "You went into the woods? What were you thinking? Do you know how many animals are out there? You could have been hurt or eaten up like a Thanksgiving turkey," my mother fusses. My dad laughs and pats her on the shoulder. "Darling, they're boys. What do you expect? And I know you both went out during the day, right?" He says these last 4 words with emphasis, like he wasn't giving us the option to tell the truth and say no. "Of course, Dad. Why would we go wandering around at night like a creep?" I lie as I roll my eyes. I tell them then that I found a sheet of metal in the ground and an old car that's junked out. After assuring my mom that the car was abandoned and promising I didn't go in it several times, I'm able to continue on. When I finished, they both just kind of looked at me, like a dog looks at the sound he's never heard before. My mom finally hugs me and says, "See, that's what happens to boys who go to places they know their mothers wouldn't want them in. The wail of the disobeyed mama banshee," she said, tousling my hair while shifting my sister on her hip. I quickly ask if I can stay that night also. I promise them I'll go home, clean my whole room, take a shower, pack my own bag, and run the dishwasher so Mom can take a nap with the baby. I even promised to have Ricky's dad pick me up so they don't have to make 2 trips to this house in one day. My mom shoots my dad a wary look. He nods at her and blows her a kiss. As long as it's fine with the Doyles, it's fine with us. Unless you ain't getting sick of this kid yet, are you, Ricky? He asks with a smile. Ricky shakes his head side to side excitedly. He runs in to ask his parents about the arrangement and came out with a thumbs up and a huge grin. Now, I know it sounds crazy to want to go out there again after last night. Tonight, though, I have a plan. I keep to all my promises and once again take advantage of my parents' new baby exhaustion. Tiptoeing like a ninja, I grab my dad's phone, turn it off, and put it in my backpack. Tonight, I can actually record this and show the kids at school on Monday. Everyone will think it's awesome. There was a knock at the door, and it's Ricky's. My mom walks me out and waves to Mr. Doyle in his car. I get a wetter than necessary kiss on the cheek, whispers, "Stay out of the woods," gives me a hug, and we're on our way. I help Ricky take the trash bins out to the road. We hand his mom things she needs out of the fridge for dinner, meatloaf this time, and wait for the sun to set watching television. Ricky's family has church in the morning, so they went to their room a little earlier than usual. I make sure my dad's phone is charged, and we head out at the usual time. Ricky doesn't seem to be as excited this time around. He drags his feet and walks super slowly. You know, the sooner we do this, the sooner we can go home. Come on! I'm going. I'm just scared as you are. If we don't hear anything this time, I promise we will never go back again, okay? Good old-fashioned peer pressure. Gotta love it. This time we don't stop or even mention the car as we pass it. Our once treasure of a find gave way to a bigger mystery. I get the phone out and turn on the flashlight feature. My excitement is slowly turning to fear. I feel like I could totally puke right now, but I can't. Ricky would love to use that excuse to leave the woods, and having not heard anything yet, we wouldn't be going back, just like I promised. We cautiously approach the hatch. We can see the moonlight glint off the metal, from farther away this time, having brushed some of the fallen dirt off of it. Not that it makes a difference. The crying was loud and very real. I dialed the police emergency number on my phone. I tell them where we are and what our names and ages are. When the dispatcher asks what the problem was, I hold the phone out towards the metal. I yell, "We're alone in New Mac Woods, and there's a baby in this metal door thing. I think it needs help." Common sense tells me that an unattended baby underneath a metal hatch would not have survived over the 9 days from when I first and last heard it. But it sounds so real. As we are waiting for the cops, a figure comes running towards us through the woods. I haven't been good at fight or flight. Freeze is more my thing. We start to run, knowing it wasn't the police, when Mr. Doyle's voice stops us. "Boys, you shouldn't be out here. Ever! Come with me, we need to go home now." Ricky's face drops. "But Dad, the police!" Mr. Doyle cut him off. "They called me. They're on their way. They will come talk to you at the house. After, if they need to." We went back to the house, and Ricky's mother holds him tight. They call my parents, too, not feeling like they had the option not to. My mom was more than furious at her, and Dad having to wake up again, get the baby ready, and come get me. By the time my parents arrive, the police have just knocked on Ricky's front door. The officer waits for my parents to enter the house before entering it himself. His face looks disturbed, like he's seen something terrible. "Tell me it's not a baby," I interrupted the adult's solemn conversation. "Officer, did you find the baby? Are they going to be okay?" My mom buries her face in my father's chest. The officer clears his throat and tells me and Ricky to sit down. First, he assures me there was no babies were hurt or in danger. Then he starts to tell our parents what they found out there in Newman Woods, inside that metal hatch door. It appeared to be locked from the inside. They were the first adults to hear the baby cry besides the 911 operator and Ricky's dad. After some attempts, they managed to pry it open. He paused before he said this last part. He told me and Ricky to leave the room. We heard, though. We heard it all. What they found inside was not a child. What they found inside was not a baby. What they found inside was a very thin, weathered old man holding a tape recorder with the play button pressed. He was bare, only dirty brief underwear that appeared to be stained with old blood. His teeth were also reported to have been reddish in nature, with a gray beard streaked with the color of rust. There was just one last thing about this that bothered me. One last thing that I can't let go. Whose baby was he recording? Never Stop at Roadside Memorials by Natalie Brown. You know how those people who you tell time of events to 15 minutes earlier because you know they would be late? The ones who would be late to their own funerals, as the saying goes. Well, that's me. Prepare as I might, I can never seem to get anywhere on time. It's the most frustrating trait ever, but yet it's absolutely always my fault. Before I had my daughter Bryn, almost 9 months old, I was one of those people who took punctuality very seriously. I was the kind of guy who looked at the traffic flow on his phone and made sure I got gas the day before. I even set my oven clock 5 minutes fast, so there would always be a 5-minute advantage. I was prepared for most obstacles. However, what I couldn't prepare for was the unpredictability of Bryn. Her needs and moods varied like all babies do. There was no rhyme or reason to her play. She did what she wanted, when she wanted, no matter if it made sense or not. It's like she was saying, "No, Dad, I will lay here and eat my foot for exactly 1 minute and 27 seconds. If you attempt to remove it before this time is passed, you will be met with total non-cooperation." Not to mention the crying and flailing of the limbs. We had a good enough routine before her mother left us about 3 months ago. Since then, we have just tried to make the best of our situation and establish new routines for Bryn and myself. These are the thoughts going through my head as I rush to Bryn 9 months doctor checkup. We are early, set, and out the door. Then she pokes the nipple through her bottle and pours it all over herself. We go back to the house, clean her up, and repeat the process. It is 9:19, and her appointment is at 9:30. It will easily take 20 minutes to get there. I'm not going to super speed or lane weave just to be on time. We will just have to be a little late. Again, as usual. Well, almost there. Only about 5 miles left. I start to allow myself to relax my shoulders a little when Bryn starts wailing. Oh, gosh. Not again. Not now, I think to myself, figuring she's poked her bottle open again. You can't take a dirty baby to the doctor. Ever, but mostly not for a checkup. It just doesn't look right. It isn't right. The pitch and repetition of her screaming is making my head feel like a kettle that's about to boil. Before it's reached its crescendo of shrill whistling, I pull over. If I knew then what I know now, I would have never stopped, or would have pulled into the nearest gas station. Anything other than where I chose to stop at. I pull over and get out of the car, and open the door of the back seat. There she is, snotty and red-faced, her blonde curls sticking to her face, with the sweat of frustration. My little sweetheart. She looks just like her mother when she cries. It makes me sad, but I can't think about that now. She knew what she was doing when she left us. No sense in keeping her ghost around, especially in my own head. We'd pulled over next to a little roadside memorial. A slightly worn but still pretty silver and pink cross is placed there with flowers withered by the hands of time and various other trinkets of memorial. The name on the cross reads Emily Semple. It looked to be a child's. That makes me sadder to think about than when I think about my wife. It's something at least, though. A temporary mental vacation into someone else's hell to be able to escape my own. I look her over and thankfully she hasn't spilled her bottle. Maybe we still have a chance of being somewhat on time. I hand her the bottle back, wipe my face and kiss her forehead, thinking if I show her love it will calm her down. As if she knew, could read my mind, she threw her bottle, and it bounces off my forehead and onto the floor. Great. I haven't realized how much of a shameful mess my car has become. Napkins, empty bottles, condiment wrappers, baby toys, maybe even a French fry or two. In my effort to retrieve the bottle, I knock some things out of my car onto the roadside. The wind starts to blow some of them onto the road, so not wanting to travel too far away from the car, I grab what I can and stuff the items back into the back seat on the floor, to be cleaned or forgotten about at a later date. We make it to the doctor's office a whopping 20 minutes late. I sheepishly grin and apologize, hoping they can still see her and I don't have to make another appointment to come back. The front desk ladies' voices are understanding, but their eyes certainly had not been. Perhaps they softened when they saw me juggling a car seat with a very loud pink diaper bag falling off my shoulder repeatedly as I tried to continue to calm her down. Yes, she was still wailing away. A nurse with a worn face but kind eyes comes over to us. Now, little lady, what seems to be the matter? That face is too beautiful to be scrunched up screaming like that. Are you hungry? Do you want Daddy to rock you? She turns her gaze to me with a smile. Why don't you take her out, Daddy, and bounce her in your arms a bit? Some babies just hate to be in their car seat any longer than they have to be. I smile, thank her, and take her advice. Just as I get her out and sit down with the doors open, Michael Hollander and baby Bryn, we're ready to see you now. Come on back to room 4 with the white and yellow clouds. I gather up all our things and head back to the room. Bryn finally settles down and snuggles into my shoulder, her thumbs in her mouth, so I knew all was well in Brynville. It's one of her happy places. Taking the thumb train to Brynville, her mom used to say. 2 vaccinations and a few spoons of ice cream later, we pulled back in the driveway, ready to recover from the whole ordeal. As I pulled her seat out of the car, I noticed a little pink elephant with a yellow star on its side. I picked it up and handed it to her as I take her in the house. I don't remember buying this for her. It probably came from her grandmother's house. She always dotes on her. Every time she's out and sees something babyish, she always gets it for her. It was just too cute, and Mimi couldn't leave it there when Bryn would love it so much, she says. Rena, or Mimi as she proclaims herself, is Bryn's maternal grandmother. Since my wife left us, she's gone above and beyond to step up and be there for us. I think it makes her feel better about the situation, as if she somehow feels responsible for her daughter's selfishness and actions. My mother's long gone, and Rena is such a beautiful part of Bryn's life. I'd never do anything to take that away from either of them. It's hard to find people you trust to help you, and it's become so hard to do it on my own. My phone rings, speaking of. It's Rena calling. She's told me to call her after the appointment was over, and I had forgotten. I quickly try to think of a somewhat acceptable excuse while I place Bryn in her crib. Coming up with nothing and mentally exhausted, I answer the phone. Hello, I answer. Hey, Michael, how did baby girl's appointment go today? You know how I worry about our princess, she asked me. A couple of shots and some tears. Nothing a little ice cream couldn't fix. She's in the 78th percentile for height and 74th for weight. And Doc says she's doing beautifully, I replied proudly. I can hear a subtle sigh of relief from her end of the phone. Good. I'm glad she's doing okay. You both have plans for the day? There's a hopeful tone in her voice as she asked this. No, not really. I'm just going to get some cleaning done and maybe head to the store later to fill up the freezer. She made a sound of disapproval. Mike, you can take her out running all over. She just got shots today, and you don't know how she'll handle them. Why don't you bring her over here for the day? That way you can do your shopping and clean the house in peace, while we have Mimi and Bryn time. After the meltdown, and outfit changes earlier, Mimi time does sound like a good idea. I would miss her, but I could get so much more done, and maybe even take a nap. She will most likely sleep most of the day anyway, as she always does on shots days. I agree and tell her I will be over in a half an hour. She gives me time to feed her lunch, pack her back up, and bring her over. I start the car, turn on some tunes, and head down the road. It's a beautiful day, and for once I don't mind driving. I get to spend it fantasizing about my forbidden daytime nap I get to take later. I stop at what seems to be the 100th stoplight, even though it was really only the 3rd. Tom Petty's velvet voice comes across the radio, so I reach down to turn up the volume. The light turns green and I start to accelerate, humming along and excited to get to her grandmother's house. Suddenly I feel a shock, powerful enough to move my whole car. It feels as though my teeth are broken and cutting my cheeks from the inside. The car flips once, twice. I feel my head bounce off the steering wheel. All I can think about is my back seat. The car comes to a stop on its hood. My body is burning with white-hot pain. What I thought were my teeth was actually broken glass from my window. I must have gotten hit, possibly T-boned. I started to fear. My head swims and my eyes become heavy. I feel like a computer shutting down one application at a time. I'm trying to use all of my senses to help me. I hear silence. No crying. No screaming. For the first time ever, I am terrified at the sound of her silence. I manage to look back to the one mirror that survived the crash. I see my little angel in the back seat, upside down, firmly secured in her car seat, motionless. Her neck bent at an unnatural angle, and blood everywhere. The last thing I see before I lose consciousness. is a little girl in front of my windshield. Her face is dirty, and she's wearing what I guess must have been at one time a white dress with yellow daisies on it. I fade away. My eyes shoot open as the phone rings. I'm at home in my chair. I jolt up and out to my mirror. I feel my head where it hit the steering wheel. And there's nothing. There's no pain, no bruises or cuts, nothing. Confused, I run to Bryn's room. She's sleeping peacefully in her crib. Either I'm losing my mind or that was the most realistic dream I have ever had. I rush to her. She wakes up and is smiling at me. Her little hand drops something as I lift her up. I look down and see the little pink elephant with the yellow star. I must have fallen asleep after her appointment today. The phone rings again and startles me. My heart springs to life, thinking it might be my wife. Maybe her mom is calling to check on her. Say that she misses us, that she lost her mind and wants to come back. I look at my phone and it's Rena. I don't answer it and let it go to voicemail. I'm still shaken up from that experience. I need to get my shit together. I'll call her later. My phone then buzzes with a text message. It's Rena, and it says, "Hey Michael, just calling to check on Bryn's doctor appointment today. If you don't have anything going on, please bring her over. I'd love to spend the day with her. Talk to you soon." Well, I'm definitely not going to be driving anywhere after what happened earlier. So I turn on some Netflix for me and my kiddo. I pop some popcorn for myself and sit down next to her on the couch. I let her snuggle into me, and we settle in like that for a little while. Halfway through my popcorn bowl, she starts to eye it. She would look from me to the bowl and then back again. She lets out an irritated grunt and furrows her brow, looking towards my bowl. Smiling and thankful to have her, I let her have a piece. I walk to the bathroom, satisfied that she's at peace in one spot for once. I'm only there for 45 seconds, a minute at most. The living room's silent and Bryn's on the floor, looking under the couch with her butt in the air. I wait to see what she was doing, figuring she'd pull some lost treasure out of there and try and eat it. She doesn't move. I walk over to her and call out to her. "You spilled Dada's popcorn, monkey butt. Did you find something good under there?" She doesn't respond. Doesn't move. Doesn't breathe. My heart drops as I rush to her, pick her up and roll her over. She's like a limp doll and her face is blue. I look over to the popcorn ball. I try everything. I turn her upside down and hit her back. I try putting my fingers down her throat to remove the obstruction. There was nothing that I can do. It's just her lifeless body and the pink elephant at her feet. I moan and scream in agony as I fumble my cell phone to call 911. My head spins as I start to lose my breath. I look out my window, and again I see the little girl, wearing the dress with daisies, outside and down the street, staring in the direction of my house. Things tilt sideways, and then the ground rushes up to meet me. I fade away. I wake up again to the phone ringing once again. I let it go to voicemail. My heart is beating so fast that I can hardly catch my breath. I am very much still in the situation in my mind I was just put in. No surprise, it's Rena again. Or maybe for the first time. I'm not even sure at this point, honestly. I can't think straight. I've seen things no parent should ever have to see. Who is that little girl in the dress? Why is this happening to us? Again I rush to Bryn's room. Again she is there sleeping, holding the pink elephant in her hand. I take it away and set it aside. She wakes up and smiles at me. I reach down to touch her hand as she reaches hers up to me, slowly falling back to sleep. I let it all melt away, soaking up her smile, Whatever is going on, whatever hell I was stuck in right now, we were here. Right now, we are very much alive and okay. Today, we won't do anything. There will be no car trips, no popcorn, no toys in her crib, no anything that can hurt my angel. It's my only job in life to protect her, and I will die trying. The same text message appears from Rena, and I decided to call her back. I tried to sound as calm as I can, mentioning the same details about the doctor's appointment. This time, however, I declined the offer to come over, deciding not to tell her about the horrific events of the day. We arranged for me to drop her off next Sunday, and she asks, "What's baby girl doing right now?" I reply, "She's asleep in her bed, holding on to that elephant. Hey, you have no idea how much she loves that. Where did you find it?" There's a pause. "Michael, I never got her an elephant toy. I would have remembered." I make an excuse about Bryn waking up and hang up the phone, feeling dazed. I go to Bryn. I will take her in my room and put her in my bed with me all day. Nothing can hurt us. We just have to make it through the day, and this nightmare will all be over. I approach her crib, and she is still there. She lays silent, not moving, not breathing. I frantically look around the room for something to hit myself with, something, anything to make me pass out so that we can begin this again, so I can have my Bryn again. I lost her mother. I cannot and will not lose her too. Where she goes, I go. She is the only light left in this world. It turns out I don't have to find anything. I feel my breath slow and the room tilt. The little girl in the dress's angry eyes follow me all the way to the floor. The phone rings. I wake up and ignore the call. You know the drill. I run to my daughter and wake her up. Only one thing matters today. I run to the car with her and strap her into the seat. We take off in the direction of the doctor's office. I pray I get there in time. No red lights and no accidents. I get to the pink and silver cross and pull over. The contents of my stomach emptying themselves down the side of my car as I rush out of it. I open the back door and grab the elephant from Bryn. Her eyes go big and her lips puff out with the threat of oncoming tears. That doesn't matter, though. I have what I need. I look to the sky and scream out, "I am sorry, Emily. We didn't mean to. Please leave my baby alone. I never meant to take it. She deserves to live!" There are tears falling from my eyes, and spit is flying from my lips. "Please!" I gently place the elephant next to the cross and back away. I hope to God that I did the right thing. We just need to make it through one whole day. So quoth this raven. A long one for you today, my darlings, with 2 stories. And my thanks to my Patreon supporters, Ermin Case and Darren and Jennifer Daw. If you like this, please hit the little button to let me know. If you didn't, hit the little button to let me know. Leave a comment. I'm always glad to talk with you, my darlings. I'm open to suggestions and criticisms, critiques. If you have not subscribed, please do so and ring the little bell so you know when to come up and see me. And I will talk to you next time, my darlings. Farewell.